So hello everybody. I'm Samaya from Soul Streaming Alchemy. I hope everybody's really well. I'm here with a lovely woman called Suzanne Heyn. I've already introduced her in my Facebook. Suzanne Heyn is a spirituality teacher, meditation guide. She's done tons of online courses and she's a blogger and writer as well. And she's somebody I met online. We were both doing an online course together. And I kind of met her through there, and we had a few exchanges, and I was quite, I was really I really liked her, and I really was struck by her journey, which is what inspired me to want to do this interview here today with her and kind of get to know a little bit more about her and share that information with you too. So, Suzanne, thank you so much for being here today. It's really lovely to see you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah.
It's always nice to connect.
Cool. So, Suzanne, I really just wanted to kind of just share a little bit of energy with you, really, have a bit of an exchange and just get to know you a little bit more, really. I really like your work, but I also have been quite struck by your journey, your life journey a little bit, and I'm particularly kind of interested, I guess, especially because you're in the sort of spirituality kind of area of work, and I'm really interested in the dark night of the soul, particularly when an individual goes through this journey and the kind of wealth and richness of experience that brings into their lives. And I guess I was aware that you've kind of had that journey quite a bit, and I'm really intrigued by that, and I'm really intrigued by the work you've been doing since. And I guess, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you. What led you into the work that you're doing now? You're creating these really lovely online courses, you're teaching meditation, and I'd love to know a little bit more about the journey that got you to this point, I guess, whatever you want to share.
So I guess the more immediate catalyst to this whole journey was in 2009. I had breast cancer, and after that I was just feeling really full of rage and sadness, and so I was kind of confronted with all these feelings. And after cancer, I tried to meditate on and off for a few years until it finally stuck. One day I just finally got tired of feeling so much pain, and so the pain of feeling the pain finally outweighed my resistance to meditation, because I resisted it for quite some time. But even before cancer, when I was 14, my father died, and then the next year my sister died. So that kind of set me off on a lifelong journey of completely repressing and ignoring my emotions. Society's message for that kind of stuff is like, stay strong, and if you feel pain, here's a pill, and just deal with it. And that's society's message. And so I really thought that this pain made me flawed. No one around me. I was really isolated after that happened, because my mother went into a deep depression and I felt very alone. And so it was just kind of like, emotionally pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get over it and move on. And so I did. And then at 27, I got breast cancer, and I really think that the cancer was related to all of those years of repressing my emotions. I mean, I wasn't living the healthiest lifestyle. I drank a lot, but I really think that did have an impact on the development of disease. And I'm actually grateful to have gone through that experience, because, when I was younger, I was into spirituality, and then as I got older, you graduate from college, and then it's like you have to get a job. And so I made some decisions that were less in alignment with my higher self and more of alignment in society. Here's what's expected of you. So I was working as a journalist, and I wasn't very happy. And then so when I got cancer, it just sort of interrupted all of that. And it took a few years before it sort of dumped me out in this place where I felt compelled to connect with something deeper. But I did eventually. And actually the catalyst, the major catalyst to where I am now, is actually living someplace that I don't like. So after all of that crazy traumatic traumatic stuff. I was living in a place that I didn't like, and I could not deal with it because I was like, I've been through so much stuff. I just deserve to be happy. I deserve to live in a place that I like. And my husband has like a good job. He didn't want to move right then. So we were just living here. And so whatever. I was working in a job I hated and ended up quitting, and then was freelance writing, and then somehow just step by step ended up here. So
and so where were you living before, the place that you were not actually enjoying that much? Where was that?
Well, I'm still there.
You're still in that same place?
Yeah, I'm still in the same place. We're hopefully going to be leaving soon. There's actually some stuff brewing right now, but yeah, I'm still here.
So basically, yeah, but so you're saying that meditation or whatever the tools you took on board it was partly because you wanted to kind of get used to the place you were more, to just be more accepting of your situation, and just get a little bit more kind of comfortable with that? Is that what happened basically? Wow.
Yeah, so many messages are like, I see all these inspirational quotes like, if you don't like where you are, you can move, you're not a tree. But in my experience, life, like when I was younger, I moved around a lot. But in my experience, the things that happen to us that we can't control influence us more than the things that we can. Mm-hmm. And it's like life is a mountain, and we're wind, and we're just always throwing ourselves against this mountain, seeing what rocks we can chip away as we move. But, at some point, and I think a lot of this just comes with age, and when life happens, and stuff that you really can't control, we're called to either accept the conditions of our lives and make the most of what we can, or keep resisting. And so everything, I found the greatest peace when I finally accepted all of the circumstances of my life. And there was a little intuitive hit, accept where you are, accept your conditions, and your life will blossom. And it was really hard for my ego to let go of what I thought my life was supposed to look like. Yeah. And even just a quick story, I had this little plot of garden in my back, and I was really excited. I'm like, I live in the desert, so it's really hard to make things grow. And I was like, I'm going to plant stuff and make it grow. And I got this little stake, and it said, bloom where you're planted. And I was really excited, I'm going to bloom where you're planted. And I planted the stake, planted all my plants, and literally every single plant dies.
But I find it very hard to keep any of my plants alive, to be honest, anyway, and I'm not in the desert, so it's not easy, is it? It's not easy. But whereabouts are you in the desert?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, nice. So is that also the space where the feeling meditation was born out of? Your signature technique, is that when you were in that space thinking, right, these are my conditions, you had gone through all that stuff, you knew that you couldn't change something immediately and that you had to make peace, I guess, with being in a place that didn't feel as inspiring, or I guess where you flourish as well. Is that where that kind of was born, your meditation technique?
Yeah, it was back when I was just dealing with all these really overwhelming emotions, and in motion, I could sort of ignore how I felt, but then I just felt called for the first time in my life to really sit with these things, and the emotions were just so overwhelming that I naturally sat down to feel them. So the feeling awareness meditation, I'm so happy you brought that up. I didn't even think about it, but it's just a process of meditating where most meditations you are focusing on your breath, but with the feeling awareness meditation, what you're actually doing is focusing on your heart center. And so emotions are energy in motion, and the feeling awareness meditation is a process of merging your awareness, your attention, with the emotional energy that's circulating within you. And through the process of merging your awareness with the emotion, what you're actually doing is transmuting emotional pain into peace. And you do that just through becoming aware of it without judgment and separating thought about the emotion from the actual experience of the emotion. And so I was guided to this technique because my emotions were just so overwhelming, and they were so overwhelming that it was actually easy to stop thinking, because it just engulfed me, the experience. Whenever I stopped to sit, the emotion would just, it was like a tsunami, So really just, it was a process of releasing all of my internal barriers toward experiencing that emotion. And then once I did a little bit, and I saw that as soon as I opened up my heart to how I felt, the emotion passed. And that's what we're most afraid of when it comes to emotions. We think that it'll be overwhelming and it'll last forever, but the opposite is true. As soon as we open our heart to how we feel, we create space for the emotion to disappear, to dissolve.
And it's interesting what you're saying, actually, because you're also making that, you've talked about how, I guess, the overwhelm of emotion makes it difficult to, in a way, focus even on anything. It's almost like too overwhelming, and it's almost distracting. And there's something almost like you're really tapping into an anchor by being able to really stay with emotions through the meditation. It sounds like you're being more anchored. And it's not just through the actual emotion, but it's the feeling aspect, the physical sensation of an emotion. And there's something I really love about that, actually, that, there's something that it's almost like by going into the eye of the storm, there's peace, or there's a sense of, like, I don't know, maybe surrender, or there's a sense that actually you're where you need to be and you can anchor there. Whereas when you kind of caught in the cyclone, you're just kind of moving all around and kind of just going into this crazy dance that becomes too overwhelming, and actually it's just too chaotic. I just really love that, actually, that it sounds like it does become an anchor. So you found this, you developed this technique that's basically, it sounds like it was what you kind of needed at the time, really. So how did you go about from doing that to then kind of putting it out there and thinking, right, okay, I need to share this with other people, and I need to get it out there in the world, and have more people experience that?
It was just a really long journey. It didn't really start it just kind of evolved. Like, people are always asking, how can I find my life purpose? And for me, it was just a matter of really following my curiosity, because my background's in journalism. So my blog started out as a wellness site, and I was going to post news articles on, because we all know how much the media sucks today. They don't report on anything that matters. Yeah. So I was going to start like a news blog about like important health stories and mindfulness. I was going to do like investigative journalism about like topics that really mattered in terms of wellness. And then my blog was going to be like almost like a side note. It was going to be like a founder sort of thing. And then I don't really know how it evolved, honestly. I just kind of showed up every day, and over time my blog became like the center focus. And then it really wasn't very spiritual how I decided to, because I didn't even really know that I haven't really, part of my journey has been like, especially when I was beginning, I like put the blinders on, and I didn't really focus on what other people were doing. I just kind of, I didn't know this whole world existed of like people like being spiritual teachers online and stuff. And so it's like kind of practical, but actually the course that we were in, so people watching this may or may not know, you're supposed to have like a lead magnet or a freebie on your blog to give away to people. And this course was, to build your email list. They were talking about how you should have a free gift to give to people. And I was like, what can I give to people? And then I just thought, I can give the feeling awareness meditation. It was just sort of like not. And then after I did it, I realized like, oh my God, this is actually really important, and I need to continue to get this out there. But the way that it happened was not, I just kind of like stumbled into that. Yeah.
And it sounds like you were looking, at new ways of, I guess, reaching a wider platform, which obviously doing things online, it does allow that. And it sounds like it was kind of more of a natural progression. So in terms of, clearly meditation has been a key ritual in your life in terms of connecting with yourself, really kind of minimizing the overwhelm and just being able to allow to feel. What would you say for you are some of the other key rituals that you feel really enrich your life, that really help transform, alchemize whatever needs that change, and really feel rooted and grounded? And I guess whatever the intent of your rituals are, what do you feel for you are the key rituals now? And they don't have to be, kind of spiritual tools necessarily. They could be kind of very everyday things, Yeah, I'd be interested to know, because I'm quite hot on ritual and life rituals to help enhance life.
Rituals are amazing, and I'm really getting more into them because this year was all about stepping into my power, and I was kind of pushing all year. And then this coming year, I really want to switch and do more like receptivity and really nourishing myself, and like nourishing in all the senses of the word, like food, ritual, other things. One thing that I'm really getting into is actually tarot cards. I love tarot cards, and I've always used like online generators to read them and gone to local people to get readings. But I got an actual deck and a book, and I'm starting to learn to read my own cards, and it's really great. I was using angel cards for a little while, and that was like a really beautiful thing. But I just feel like this is kind of like a next step to just kind of reflects your life back to you, and I feel like it's a really powerful, beautiful tool to really just connect with your guides and connect with the universe in kind of like a deeper, more special way. So,
great.
And even just simple things like walking my dog at night after the day is done, or even going to the gym, right? I mean, it's that transition in between the day, and then really looking to, build boundaries for myself to create that space so that I feel more energized, because I've been feeling really depleted. So the boundaries, like, okay, the day is done, now I'm going to the gym. There's like a steam room at my gym, so I love going and sitting in the steam room, and then like coming home and making a really yummy meal for myself. These are things that I'm working on, and it's like changing habits, and it takes time to change these habits. But trying to be like really gentle with myself as I evolve into like a more saner, balanced version of myself.
I really love the gym. I've been going, and I see a personal trainer once a month, and what it does for me mentally, not just physically, I love it so much. And it's one of the rituals that I just can't let go of. I just really like it, and I guess I was missing that part in my life, that kind of more physical aspect. But I'm interested in what you're saying, the kind of whole yin and yang aspect of experiencing oneself, and that it sounds like you've had, like you were saying, this year was a year of really putting things out there, being very productive and really quite active, now stepping into a kind of more sort of receptive space. Talking about productivity and creativity, you have actually produced, is it 4 online courses? And I'd love to hear more about them as well. It is 4 courses, yeah?
It's 3, kind of 4. Like the 4th one's really small, so I don't really consider it a course, but it is a course. I don't know, 3.5.
So no, fair enough. So I want to ask you a bit more about the courses as well, but first of all, I'd love to hear a bit more. I'm very interested. That's my next online course. It's about turning self-doubt and fear actually into creativity, and I really love this theme actually, and I feel like it's something that my research shows it's something people really want and really need as well, to kind of get a little bit unstuck and moving with things. Obviously, with somebody who's produced a lot of material like you have, what would you say, any of your productivity hacks, what kind of tips and advice you can give to people to kind of get a bit unstuck in the process and keep sort of producing and putting things out there that is of value to them, because it's one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with, becoming productive, not just kind of doing things that need doing in terms of just kind of work and all that, but kind of really just like positively productive, and with meaningful stuff, I guess. What would you say, as opposed to just doing for the sake of doing, what would you say are your advice and your tips around becoming productive and creative like that?
So my number 1 tip is really deadlines. Promise people things, and then you have no choice. You have to deliver. And that was part of what helped me put so much out there into the world this year, and also part of what drove me crazy is that I was just like always pushing, and then I said publicly that I would do things, and then I had to do them. And so that was really helpful because especially, overcoming perfectionist tendencies, which a lot of us have to do, or if it's like fear-based perfectionism and you're just going like, is this good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough? So really setting deadlines, even if you're not promising people things externally, like, setting internal, I'm going to do this by this date, and just really focus. That was one thing that I really learned this year. A mentor said that, overwhelm is really an absence of clarity, and that was really profound for me because I think so many people try and do like multiple things at once, and I just think it's so much more effective to to pick one thing. And that was really hard because especially some of my courses, they're big courses. They're like 6-week courses. Some of them have content that's being delivered every day. So I think I wrote the equivalent of a book this year, which is really shocking to think about because I've been trying to write a book for forever. So a lot of us like working on multiple things at once, so it can be really kind of annoying actually to like commit like 6 weeks or several months to one project because you just want to like get over it and get on with the next thing. But I think it's just a really powerful way of shipping projects.
And in terms of procrastination, I don't know if it's something you deal with a lot. Some people do. I have at times, and I have my own way of dealing with it. How do you feel? Is it something you experience a lot of, and how do you actually come out of your procrastination?
I haven't procrastinated really on. My gut feeling with procrastination is that, for me anyway, when it came up, it was because I wasn't fully aligned in what I was doing. Like, when I'm passionate about something, there's just no procrastination. I'm just very eager to move forward. So I don't really have an answer for that.
Okay, that's fair enough, but it's an interesting thing to maybe reflect on, because I think it brings out this opportunity for people to really kind of dig in and think, okay, do I really want to be doing this? Maybe it might be a good question to ask if it's something that happens a lot with regards to a particular issue. I find it's interesting with procrastination. I find for me when it does happen is to do with being tired and kind of just needing a bit of me time and a little bit of receptivity time. So there's something about recognizing that and honoring that at times. So rather than calling it procrastination, I just kind of allow myself space to be sometimes and just not really feel that I have to produce. And I feel like kind of flowing with that, it really works very well with me.
I love it. It's such an important point too, because we treat ourselves like robots, just being on all the time, and that's just not how we are.
Yeah, definitely. I find it useful. So, so for somebody, I guess, personally for you, your journey, and in terms of creating this work, and perhaps, I guess, then taking on that journey of being an entrepreneur who's going to be doing this online courses, you do your writing, and you connect with people sort of who are your clients. What would you say, kind of that journey of putting yourself out there in a way, what kind of skills and attributes and kind of strengths you had to dig into to kind of cultivate within yourself, I guess, and you had to develop to be able to put yourself out there in that way, would you say?
That's a really great question. It's really interesting. I've been a writer my entire life, but actually, I think that actually sabotaged me in the beginning because I was like very into, to write online. You have to talk like to resonate with your target audience. You have to talk like they talk, which isn't how I wanted to write. I really prided myself on, just writing a certain way and having a certain voice and, even sometimes using like big words or whatever, but that really doesn't resonate with people online as much, and even being like really creative, like a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, I feel like, especially, make their writing really, and even using a lot of jargon and stuff, like it's really easy to get caught up in like the industry terminology and forget about like what does this even mean. So I really had to give up my ideas of how I wanted to write and instead write how in the way that has the most impact. So that was one thing, and that was actually really hard.
I struggle with that. I really do struggle with that, because I want to write in my own style and in my own way, and it's something I still struggle with. I'm aware of, but I don't make the changes that I need to make. But I get what you're saying, and I guess you do need to have a real clarity about your audience and the people that kind of connect with you. What are your audience, by the way, Suzanne? Who are the people that kind of connect with your work and want to learn from you, and I guess, get your courses and interact with you?
So it's mostly women. There were a few men early on, but I've noticed that crowd's kind of thinning, and it's a lot more women now. Age 25 to 45 mostly, but kind of skewing. I have some people 40s and even 50s sometimes. Just people who, and it's funny because I was writing a lot about healing emotional trauma, but I've recently realized there's a lot of people following my work who are like actually fine and who have never experienced trauma, which is really fascinating to me.
So what is this about? Because I've been through a similar thing, and I had a feeling that I think I worked out why that was, what that was about. Do you have a sense of what that was about? Why, I guess you created this thing and it wasn't so much what people were needing.
Yeah, I think that my biggest mistake was thinking that only people who have survived trauma experience deep pain and sadness. And like, I was actually surprised, because to me, like, healing from trauma is normal. It's like my life. And so it was really shocking to me to hear that so many people, like, it was shocking that so many people have experienced some kind of a trauma, because I think as trauma, I think it's a beautiful golden age, because the internet is bringing this is kind of off subject, sorry, but so many sensitive people who have been traumatized, like, and people are claiming their experience and saying, like, I will not be put in the shadows anymore. And I think that is so beautiful. But the people who are the people, just people, like, everyone experiences pain and sadness, and that was really surprising to me. Like, I know one lady in particular who signed up for one of my recent courses, she mentioned the word healing on my website. She was, because I asked her for feedback on my sales page, and she was saying, like, I don't really resonate with the word healing. She's like, nothing bad has ever really happened to me. I just kind of have mood swings sometimes. I ignore my emotions, then all of a sudden they blow up. And so it was just really surprising to me, because I really thought that only people who had been traumatized dealt with these sorts of problems. So it was interesting to know that everybody does.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The reason I was asking is I feel sometimes, for me, what I've realized actually was that I do certain things for me as opposed to do it for others. Like, I created a meditation course for me, rather than, I love putting that knowledge together. Somebody had asked me about it actually, and they said they would love it if they would be interested if I was ever to do something like that, and I hadn't thought about it because I was teaching one-to-one. And I realized that actually it wasn't really where my interest kind of lied, but it was in terms of working with people, it was just more something that I did for myself, and it's something that, okay, I've got that knowledge, I'll put it together. I just find it interesting that I felt my direction, I guess, shifted quite a lot since, and I realized that, sometimes, I guess, part of the journey, we put out there something that is more relevant to who we are and more aligned to that, but it's not necessarily about, okay, who do we want to serve, but I think it's interesting, and I find it's very fascinating when you start having a look and researching and understanding more about the audience that's connecting with you, the kind of stuff that they're really interested about, and the kind of stuff that they really care about, and how they wanna grow. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about your courses. So you've got 3.5 courses. Tell us a little bit more about them, because they kind of vary. They've got some very interesting structures, I guess. You have that kind of that course where it's almost like people need to journal every day. Is that right? And then there's other weekly stuff. So tell us a bit more about each course and what that offers to people and what they can get from them.
Yeah, so my first course was the Big Shift, and it's based on, it's a 40-day yoga practice, which is kind of was like the catalyst for me, like really changing my life. And it's based on in Kundalini yoga. If you practice yoga for 40 days, it's like you're just supposed to, it rewires your nervous system basically. So it's like people are guided through a 40-day practice, and you're doing the same practice every day for 40 days.
Wow.
And so every day, well, 6 days a week, people get inspirational emails, and then there's like meditations and stuff, and there's journaling for each day. So that's one course, and that was the first course I did. And it was like I just did it before I knew about any of this like whole world. And I'm so glad that I just jumped in and did it, because there are so many people out there who are like, oh, you don't know. And like you were saying before, you know, there's some things that your heart just feels called to do. And then there's other things that like your audience will ask you for. And it's always this constant balance. Like, what can I give people that feels true to me, but that also like people actually want. So and that was there's a lot of interest around that course. I run it twice now. They were kind of too close together, like a couple months together, so I'm curious to see how that will go in the future. But then my second course that I created was the Magic of Meditation, so it's also a meditation course. And I really geared it towards, because I feel like, you know, people have so many questions about meditation, and I really feel like the number one reason why people have trouble meditating is because they don't trust themselves. They feel like they don't know how. They feel like, you know, there's just all these little doubts, and it's like the answer to doubt is always trust. And so the course teaches technique, but it's very much about helping people trust themselves. And there's no journaling with that. It's just emails for 30 days helping people. And there's guided meditations, but the real crux of the course is giving people the confidence to meditate on their own. And then my third course was, and I did my half course kind of in the middle of this. It started off, it's just Journey into the Heart, and it's just 30 days of journaling prompts. So it started like as an Instagram challenge, and then I just created it, transformed it into like an online thing that is available on demand. And then my last course that I did is Emotionally Empowered, and it's a 6-week course with three lessons a week, and it just talks all about emotions, what they are, what the individual emotions mean: anger, sadness, loneliness. It includes some mind-body techniques to move through them, but and meditation is like part of the course. Like, it comes with guided meditations, but it's not. I encourage people to develop what I call a daily feeling practice, which is actually like the feeling, just doing the feeling, just sitting with your emotions. I really feel like that's the most important thing you can do, but just really helping people shift from judging their emotions and judging how they feel to working to understand their emotions and understand how they feel. So.
I believe that myself, and I think these days, I think a lot of people needing more practices that are kind of so much more integrated to kind of daily living and experiencing, and part of really everyday rituals that can feel much more grounded. I feel that some people, and I think it's a preconception as opposed to a reality, but I feel some people will be held back from a practice like a meditation. They feel it's too detached. And I think it could be used as a detachment kind of tool, I guess, as well, without really unconsciously. But I feel like I love the whole aspect of the feeling meditation, and that being a much more visceral experience, I guess, that people can have. And it's interesting because the yoga course that you've mentioned, I really like the idea of the course more than actually showing up and going to a class. Like, I love going to the gym, for instance, but something like Kundalini yoga I've done once or twice, I think, in the past, and then I went and did Ashtanga more. But I love it. I love the online platform for that, for some kind of funny reason. I don't know why, but I would be much more likely to do it in that kind of context. And I love the fact that you've set it up to be like a daily thing. So in a way, it creates that sort of ritual. How, I guess, which leads to another question which just came up, which is about regularity and consistency. How important do you think that is? Like, I'm a freedom person. I really need to have my freedom to roam around wild and free in my rituals. Like, I know there's a sense that I commit to certain things being done for sure, like in my work and my writing and all sorts of things. But I struggle. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily struggle. I don't know if it fits me to have very set routine. But I really see the value of consistency. What are your thoughts about that consistency and kind of how regular things need to be, and how often? Do you think there needs to be a very set structure? Do you feel that one can be really open to how they do things? What do you think works best?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person. For me, I need routine. I have railed against it my entire life, wanting to be the free bird, but I am just a disaster if I don't have structure.
Right.
A disaster. I'll stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's just no good. So, and to me, I see routine as like a structure. It's like a foundation into which I can pour my creativity. It's like a container that like keeps my energy high, and I'm really like part of this whole process over the past little while has really been, because I'm like 34 now, almost 35, and so kind of I got cancer right when I was kind of transitioning, from being younger to being like more of like an adult, like 20s to 30s. When I was younger, I really wanted to travel and kind of be a nomad. And even after I was done being sick, I wanted to like recapture my lost nomadism and harbored fantasies of being like a traveling yoga instructor and stuff. But really within the past little while, I've really come to accept that part of my life is over, and it's healthier for me to be rooted in one place, and I really resisted that for a long time. But it's like when I'm thrown off of my schedule, it takes me forever to get back, and I'm so much happier and thriving and just more energetic, and we're talking about being nourished when I have that like regular routine.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, isn't it? It does depend on each person, what they might need in their lives to keep them going and to keep them, I guess, inspired and really aligned, I guess, as well. I really love that analogy of the container, though. I think it's really important, and I definitely needed myself, just as long as a space to kind of change the plan. I really always allow myself space there, but there's still an overall container actually. But it's really important for me. It was quite a big thing to come out of this, I guess, especially as I'm trying to kind of put my work out there as well, really come out of that notion that I need to stick to my kind of daily schedule in that very set way. So to me that was quite freeing to experience that actually I can do it in a slightly different way. But absolutely, everybody is different. So,
and that's such a good balance to have, to be able to have that fluidity, because it's like finding that balance, because too much structure then easily becomes stale, right? So I think that's awesome. And, to have that balance,
And I guess for me, I'm a fixed sign. I'm a Taurian with Virgo ascendant and Capricorn moon, which is all 3 earth signs, and it's all.
Oh, you're a Capricorn?
Yeah, Capricorn is my moon.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a Taurus with Virgo ascendant. What are you?
I'm a Capricorn. That's my sun sign, and I think my moon is Virgo. So.
Oh wow, that's so weird. We've got our signs sort of the other way around. And what's your moon?
I have no idea.
Okay. That's so interesting, though.
I actually need to find my birth time. I don't know my birth time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. How interesting. So you've got Virgo and Capricorn as well. So you've got two. and I experience it in the way that I need, because I'm a fixed sign. And generally, I'm really quite good with rituals and routines to kind of see them through. But I do find that I need a little bit of that space to, otherwise I go crazy and, I just kind of can't stand myself.
Yeah.
So you've had all this work, you've put your work out there, and you've been doing all the stuff you've been doing. I was really impressed, actually. You've built quite a list. Your email list is it's really good. Like
Thank
you went like quite quickly, quite high up. But I guess with where you're at now, what do you experience to be your challenges right now at this point in your life in terms of kind of, growth opportunities, I guess? I mean, as challenges, what do you experience to be your challenges in your life and work at the moment?
Completely honestly, it's monetizing my business.
Yeah.
I'm like having a really hard time. It's just like I've created these courses from my heart, and like learning how to sell without like selling myself out, like in a way that feels good, is challenging.
It is.
So,
I mean, I don't think you're the only one experiencing
my
that.
My list is big now, but my last launch from a financial perspective was really disappointing. And I'm thrilled to have impacted. I'm grateful for every single student, grateful for everyone, but yeah, people just aren't right now signing up for my courses. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And do you use your, I don't think you're the only one experiencing that. What do you use as a promotional, is it your writing, your promotional tool, I guess, for you? Is it blogging and guest blogging the way that you attract people? Is it more paid ways like Facebook ads and things like that? What do you use? Because I'm going to be really focusing on Facebook ads this year alongside my blogging. That's my kind of strategy for the new year.
Yeah, blogging's great. That's like, I did focus really heavily on Instagram for a while, but I don't think that platform is really, it's really great for like self-expression and connecting with people, but it hasn't been, it used to be really great, but I think with the algorithm changes, engagement's gone way down, and it's just not where I'm spending most of my time anymore. Yeah. And it was really disappointing because people just weren't visiting my blog, and so I it's like, you have to become dispersonal about it, but also like I take it, it's like my heart and my soul. So when people don't want to even like, take the next step to like check out my blog, it was like really disappointing to me. And so my blog, then I realized that my blog is really the most important goal. And so Pinterest has actually been really great and been a tremendous traffic driver, and has been like the single most, I like a few pins go viral, and it really helps skyrocket my email list. And even it's just kind of tweaking things and tuning all the experts out. Like I'm sure like business coaches are great working one-on-one, but like all the like big like internet people, I always listen to them, like that aren't, like I feel like it's really interesting, helpful for spiritual entrepreneurs to learn from other spiritual entrepreneurs, because we like get each other, and we're like, we want to be authentic, like we don't want to, so because everyone's like, oh, video is where it is, no one reads anymore. And so my last launch, I did a 3-part video series that people said that they loved, and then hardly anyone signed up for the course. Although I think that was my fault, because I was really tired at that point, and I really should have taken a break, but I kept pushing through. And now reading some of my promotional materials, I'm like, what were you thinking, Suzanne? Like, it was just, I should have taken a break. And I think that had a lot to do with why my launch was so bad.
Right, okay. And I guess that's the whole thing with this process, isn't it? It's such a process of trial and error, and just keep on trying things until something works. And I guess for me, I don't know about you, and I'm interested to know, it's a combination of learning. I mean, I've been very lucky. I've invested in studying with really great people like Derek Helpin, like yourself, and Marie Forleo, and Sarah Hart, for instance, and lots of other new people. And I love gaining that knowledge and what you learn from really awesome mentors. But I do find, and I saw it on my Soul Streaming Alchemy as well, it's really important to bring the intuition in. And I realized that a very key thing is also kind of, yeah, you do try. Intuition will tell you, okay, try this and try that. You do try. Some things will work, some don't. But I really see the importance of really kind of being kind of inspired by the processes of marketing oneself and the promotion. It can't be fully dry. Like, you can't go and do something that's completely out of your depth, or something that just doesn't inspire you to do. That's kind of really important, I find. And also what you said about learning from other people. Like, for me, the thing that had the most impact so far, and I didn't expect that, and I'm gonna do that again in the new year, was investing in a really good mentor. The mentor, she really got me straight away, and it's made, actually, that's when I started earning money. Before I wasn't, and that's when I actually started earning money. Not masses, it's still the beginning, and that's where I felt much more aligned. It really kind of getting the right mentor and the right business coach, I guess, for me, who was a healer, a psychic healer in Hawaii. And in terms of, I guess, talking about mentors, I'm interested to know, who would you consider some of your mentors? Not necessarily in terms of business mentors, but in terms of on your journey, people that kind of inspired you to kind of grow and surpass your challenges, and kind of keep on becoming a better version, I guess, of yourself.
Yeah, actually, one of my biggest inspirations is 𝙎𝙖𝙧, Yoga Girl. I don't know if you follow her, but so she's like a big Instagram personality, and a few years ago, her like, she had went through all of these, like, her best friend died, and she underwent surgery at the same time, and that was actually a really big catalyst for me to start putting my work out there, because I really hadn't been up until that point. I had always let fear hold me back, and something like when she was sharing her pain, and people were responding to it so much, and so that inspired me to to just start sharing my feelings, which then kind of grew into this whole thing. So she's been a huge inspiration, and also because she's really successful, and she isn't one of the, like, internet, like, marketing people. I guess, like, and you were talking about this before, like, the role of intuition, and that's something that I really learned this year, because, like, and none of the courses that I've taken, they've each helped inch me forward a little bit, but I really kind of begin to understand on a cellular level. And we have to, I guess, learn these lessons again and again until they fully absorb. But that, like, my intuition really is the guide. Like, my most successful launch was actually my first launch at the very beginning, when I didn't have any of this outside knowledge. I was just like, I don't know, I'll just do what seems right. And that was, like, the biggest thing.
How interesting. Was that for the Big Shift? Was that for your course, The Big Shift?
Yeah, my first launch, The Big Shift, was my biggest, not in terms of revenue, but in terms of number of students enrolled. And that might be because it was priced really low, but whatever. But yeah, so really just people who are anyone who's just, like, authentic and making it in business without, I don't know, I guess part of me wishes that you could just put yourself out in the world and not know any of this, like, extra business stuff, but I'm realizing you do. And so it's just always finding that, like, balance,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But there's something about, isn't it, about having a bit of half and half. Like, you can't, however good mentors you have and however many good tools you have out there, you have to play. For me, that's the other thing, I guess. I don't know about you. There has to be this element of play. There has to be an element of, I'm playing and I'm having fun with it. And I found when I did my meditation course, I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. And I think the fun element was also, I am quite into, I love kind of creating systems. And I love kind of, although I like freedom in the way I operate, I love actually putting information together, and the whole aspect of creation, there's something very spiritual in that, and really aligning and really channeling your heart energy into it. I just really love all that stuff, and then creating avenues for people to learn and expand from. So I really love that process, but there was a sense that there is play. And I don't know about you, but I come across a lot of people who I will see the work and I can tune in, and I know from the energy that it radiates, I know if this was coming from that place of joy or not.
Oh, interesting.
Like
Really
I'm so kind of intuitive on that level that I think that I really see, that's why for me intuition is so important, because I realized this is, again, kind of creating soul streaming alchemy felt like it was, I mean, it was very stressful putting it together, to be honest, but because I was working with my mentor and she was really on my case, but to get it done. But I love what it's about. Like when I work with my clients, I'm just I just can't, like, I don't care what time of the day it is. I just love working with them on it. And I love the journey they take into. And I feel like I really see that as a key thing standing out from people's work, like when there's joy in it, you know. So it's beyond the whole thing of what my skills are, what I know, and I can tell if they're doing it because it's something they've been good at, but they've been a bit too, like, they felt a little bit stuck with it. Like, and to me, that is not an attractive kind of energy, you know? So I feel the key of joy and kind of channeling heart energy feels so important. And to have that kind of, that kind of play element in the creation aspect, in the kind of systems that are created for people. Like I'm doing a quiz, I've been doing it for months and months, but I love taking other people's quizzes and to give information about your business, your archetype of business, and all that kind of stuff. And I just really love that kind of whole sort of process of doing a quiz, you know. So I guess intuition is a big one.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting too because I think I mentioned before the whole video thing, and that was part of the thing with my last launch. Like I did this 3-part video series, but then I surveyed my audience, and actually overwhelmingly people say that they like to read, to consume material. And so I'm thinking like that was probably, and then looking at the stats for my videos, people were reading emails, but they weren't clicking through to see the videos. And it's not necessarily because my videos sucked, it's because people just like to read, which isn't surprising because I'm a writer. So I always intuitively kind of knew like, oh, and you know, so it was nice to go out of my comfort zone, and I'll probably do more video in the future just to kind of, again, deepen relationships with my existing subscribers. But, you know, to really, you know, own what we do, right? And be like, I'm a writer. That's what I do best. I'm not best on video. And as much as people are saying, you know, no one reads anymore, people actually do read. And I'm one of those people. I would much rather read than watch a video. You know, I will watch videos, but, you know.
So it sounds like you recognize that within yourself, that's a key. I guess that would be one of the, you know, it would come under some of the, when we did the soul streaming alchemy. I don't know if that came up, how it came up for you, if that was really evident. Yeah. But it's I think then it becomes obvious for you that you want to be sticking with that. You want to be doing it, and I guess it's what people maybe are more attracted to you. I did find that there's a woman who's an amazing writer. I don't know if you know Andrea Bolt. I'll send you a link of her work. She does this online writing courses and stuff, and I mean, it's insane, the stuff her creativity is incredible. Like I find it so inspiring. And she did a video, and I just wasn't, although she's a really attractive woman, I did not feel connected with her video material and her words through the video in the way that I did through her writing. It's like she really became alive through the writing in a way that, you know, video, which is a really kind of very powerful, very immediate medium, I guess, you know, you would have thought that would have been equally, if not more powerful, but actually just didn't do. And I realized she doesn't do videos anymore, you know, she just sticks to writing. So it's really interesting finding that kind of niche of where kind of is really aligned for us, right? To really be creating and communicating.
It's really interesting too from a spiritual perspective because, you know, there's so many shades of one truth, right? Like we're each like that's what religions, they're all shades of one truth, right? And we each have like our specific messages, but nothing I'm saying or nothing any other teacher is saying is completely new and revolutionary and fresh. It's just like a different way of looking at old ideas. And we're all specific containers. And like, so, you know, some people learn from reading. And so I'm a container for whatever comes through me, and I commune with spirit through writing. Like creating my course materials, that to me is like the most spiritual experience in the world. Like sitting down, opening myself up to be that channel, and then typing it. So people who are attracted to me are attracted to, like, that's the medicine that they need, maybe along with other medicines. Or like, you know, for you or for someone else, it's like, you know, or someone who's like gifted at video, and their specific container, a specific knowledge coming through them, and they're gifted to video, and so they're serving, you know, I just feel like it's this like whole package that, like, you know, we can't judge it, because we're just here at the end of the day to serve, to be a container for whatever comes through us and whatever medium we most feel compelled to. Although I would like to get more into, but then there's that balance, because you do need to get out of your comfort zone too. So I don't know.
Yeah, because completely, I agree with that. For me, video is definitely not my medium. It's definitely writing, but I keep on being pulled back to it, because I feel like there's something that communicates through our energy that's also quite important. And there's for me personally, it's I come out of my comfort zone, and I quite like that. You know, I resisted initially, but I quite like it, and it's just a way of challenging myself. And I particularly like doing interviews, because I just like to get to know people a little bit more, and I like sharing that energy, I guess. But it's definitely, there's definitely so many different ways of doing it, and it's just, again, part of that thing of trying and experimenting with different things, seeing what works for people, and what feels right, and sticking with what feels right, I guess, perhaps, or just, you know, just doing it for the fun of it.
And the whole thing, like entrepreneurship, I feel like it's so spiritual too. And so part of, I think, going out of your comfort zone is really like coming up with limiting beliefs. Because one of the reasons that I like to write is because I'm able to feel heard when I write. Like one of my limiting beliefs is that like the things that I talk about are boring. I mean, that's like something that I struggle with, because no one around me is interested in spirituality. Like I can talk about this stuff all day, but like no one around me is really interested in hearing about it. And I can see, like, you know, so when I talk in video, there's just this like little voice like in the back of my head, like, no one cares what you're talking about, shut up. So for me, like, you know, on video, like, yeah, it's a way to connect with people, but it's also a way to be like, okay, you know, like, mind, just shut up, it's not true.
Yeah. I'm really glad you've mentioned this, actually, the whole thing about being an entrepreneur and that being a spiritual kind of practice in itself. I couldn't agree more. I have not challenged in my life myself more than I have through this journey of putting myself out there, really kind of undoing limiting beliefs, learning and stuff in areas like technical stuff that I wouldn't really want to know how to go about learning, you know, just really opening up this new kind of experience and constantly challenging myself to grow bigger. Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's the biggest spiritual journey. And in a way, there's this thing where I really believe in grounding through some kind of life ritual, grounding ourselves. And it's almost like, for our spirituality, we need our raw material. It needs to kind of grab our raw material and play with that. We can't just like meditation in itself, you know, like, where are we going to go with it? You know, there's something about creating and really kind of grappling with our raw material, and in a way we have to come up against ourselves. And there's something about going on a journey, either being an entrepreneur, whatever goals we have in life, that journey of reaching the destination and reaching our goals, it will test us, you know. And in a way, what a wonderful way to do this, really. I'm really pleased you talked about this, actually, because I really would like to encourage more people to consider about monetizing their gifts and putting themselves out there. So I guess noticing the time and being aware that we're going to be coming to an end in a minute, it might be a good way to end by hearing, I guess, what your advice is to people who might want to, they have their passions and their ideas, and they're kind of like either holding themselves back or they don't know how to start. What would you be saying to people who are considering kind of monetizing their gifts and putting themselves out there a bit more through their work?
Yeah, I just think I have this sign above my desk and it says, when we try our best and persist, we do become the best at it. And I think just showing up every day and just taking small steps, we don't have to know where it'll go. And in fact, we don't know where it'll go. And that's part of the beauty. And I really think that, just by showing up every day and asking your intuition, what is the next step? And then over time, it just evolves and you see more of the picture and it becomes even more beautiful. But the moment that, we define ourselves is the moment that we limit ourselves. So really being comfortable with, living beyond identity and beyond not needing to define ourselves, not needing to know who we are. We don't need to know who we are. All we need to do is just to take the next step right now. Because that's something that I've really experienced over the past little bit. Every time I break into a new level and give myself new identity, that's already created the next wall to limit myself. That's already the next container that I'll have to break through. Yeah. So being comfortable with letting my connection to my higher self and the universe to really influence, moment by moment. And because I'm kind of thankful that I operated at such a breakneck pace this year, because if I had stopped to think about what I was doing, I probably would have gotten freaked out and quit. Because it's who am I? A year ago, I couldn't even articulate my vision to my husband without feeling like a complete and total fraud. Who am I? So, just taking those little steps every day. You don't have to be part of this whole journey, and life purpose is not about what we do, it's who we become while we're doing it, and it's all about the journey. So, and one thing that I really did at the beginning and that I'm trying to do more of now is put the blinders on. I hear stories of so many people going into thousands of dollars in debt, taking course after course after course, and what they really need, you don't need any courses to just get started. You just do.
I agree with that.
You need to trust yourself. Meditate. Spend 30 minutes a day meditating, or 20 minutes, or 10 minutes, or whatever, and go within. And that's seriously all the guidance you need, especially at the beginning, to get started. Because it's so much better to have that solid foundation in yourself before you go and get outside advice. Because we were talking about before, anytime you're learning outside advice, you always need to pacify your own intuition and carve it into something that works for you.
Yeah. No, that's really lovely advice, actually. And can I ask you, to what extent for you blogging and just writing articles, how much that has helped you understand more about your direction? Because it certainly has me. It's kind of helped in a way, kind of point to the direction I need to kind of be heading to, even before I knew I was going to be creating something down that road. You know what I mean? Has that been a thing for you? Has that been influential for you, writing, to help you pinpoint what kind of courses you wanted to be creating, what kind of material you wanted to put out there, and how you wanted to engage with people?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one reason I'm really thankful to Instagram, because I made a commitment when I was just starting out, before I was even blogging regularly, to post on Instagram daily. And it really helped me flesh out my voice and ideas, to just see how people responded to things. And to learn, what I thought, there's a certain kind of magical alchemy that happens when you put your work into the world. It's completely different from saying, okay, this is done, versus, okay, this is done, here you go, world. And just that act of putting it out into the world, I feel like a lot of times I'll finish a blog post, I'll read it, whatever, and then as soon as I put it out and it's published and I read it, I see things oh, that could have been better, or that could have been different. Sure. And it's I really feel you don't grow until you actually release things into the world. Yeah. And as people, you need to get comfortable so I always talk about, a big part of my work is helping people become comfortable with their emotions, but it's really about being comfortable with pain, because the pain of not being good at something that you want to be good at is one of the worst pains that any of us experience. So you have to get comfortable at sucking. You have to get comfortable of putting work out that you don't like out into the world, because it's okay. Yeah. The most important part is that you put it out into the world, because until you do, you don't grow. It's that alchemy that I was talking about. Yeah. You can have five finished books on your desktop computer, but as soon as you send your books to an agent to get rejected, that's when you start to grow. Yeah. And so it's just that alchemy, putting yourself into the world, even if you hate it, especially if you hate it.
Absolutely. That's really beautiful advice, actually, Suzanne. That's really lovely, and I couldn't agree more with that. I think a lot there for people to take from, and just, I agree. You just need to do it. You need to kind of not worry about sucking too much, and just kind of just kind of like, because again, it comes back to this thing of playing, right? Playing and making a little bit of mess, and having that joy element. In a way, when you're from a place of joy, you won't worry so much. I think it really is great to kind of have the intent to be getting better, but absolutely, it's okay to kind of suck. And I think one of the beautiful things of blogging is that, in a way, now you don't need to kind of monetize through your blog straight away. You just kind of put things out there and see how people connect. And it acts as a very beautiful kind of, I guess, it's a lovely way to really also brainstorm and understand what needs to be channeled through you. So I love that very much, and I think it's just been really lovely to connect with you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'd love to know a bit more about how people can connect with you. I'll put the links behind the video as well. Can you tell us how people can connect with you? What are the main ways they can kind of get on board to see your writing and kind of connect with your courses, or however else they want?
Yeah, so I'm just SuzanneHeyn.com, and I'm Suzanne Heyn across all the social platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. Pinterest is like _Heyn, but so YouTube, people can come find me. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. It's really fun, and I'm glad that we were able to connect.
Absolutely. It's been really lovely. I really appreciated what you had to say, and I think there's some really good stuff for people to take from, actually, and apply it in their own life. So, Suzanne, thank you so much. I hope you have, I guess it's daytime there, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. It's getting late here, but it's been great to connect, and we'll kind of catch up again sometime soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, see you later.
Bye.